The Mongol army conquered more land than any force in human history. They moved faster than any enemy could track. They crossed deserts, they crossed steppes, they crossed mountain ranges in the dead of winter, and they did it while carrying almost no food. Not because they were tough enough to starve, because they had figured out how to compress an almost unlimited supply of protein, calcium, and energy into something small enough to fit in a coat pocket. They called it Aaruul. You've never heard of it. You should have. Chapter 1. The problem of feeding a moving army. To understand why Ahruul existed, you have to understand what the Mongol army actually was. It wasn't a traditional army. It didn't march in formation and set up supply depots. It didn't stop to build camps and wait for grain wagons to catch up. The Mongol army was essentially a nation on horseback. Every warrior rode with a string of between 3 and 5 horses. He switched mounts throughout the day so no single animal wore out. He covered ground at speeds that made European armies look like they were standing still. The fastest Mongol columns covered 60 miles in a single day. 60 miles! On horseback across open steppe, an army moving that fast cannot carry traditional provisions. A wagon train slows everything down. A supply line becomes a vulnerability. The whole strategic advantage disappears the moment you have to stop and wait for food. So, the Mongols solved it the only way they could. They made food that weighed almost nothing, lasted almost forever, and could be eaten without stopping, without cooking, without fire, without water. Aaruul was the solution. Chapter 2. What Aaruul actually is. Aaruul is dried milk curd. That's the short answer. The full answer is more impressive. The process starts with yogurt. Typically from cow, yak, goat, or camel milk depending on what the herder had available. The yogurt is boiled on low heat and stirred continuously until the curds separate from the whey. The curds are then strained through cloth, wrapped tight, and pressed under a heavy stone to force out every last drop of liquid. What you have at that point is a dense, dry curd cake. It gets cut into small pieces. Palm-sized, pocket-sized, bite-sized, and then laid out in direct sunlight to dry. Not for a day, not for 2 days. For several days, brought inside at night, put back out each morning until the moisture is completely gone. What comes out the other end is something closer to a rock than food. And that is entirely the point. No moisture means no bacterial growth. No bacterial growth means no spoilage. Properly made, Aaruul doesn't last weeks. It doesn't last months, it lasts years. Some accounts say it stores almost indefinitely. A Mongol warrior riding into a campaign that would last a year didn't need to think about where his next meal was coming from. He had it in his coat. Chapter 3. The nutrition inside the rock. Here is where it gets genuinely shocking. Aaruul is not just shelf-stable. It is nutritionally dense in a way that most modern snack food manufacturers would struggle to replicate. A single 100-gram portion of traditional Aaruul contains between 35 and 40 grams of protein. That's more protein per gram than most cuts of beef. It's more than almost any modern protein bar on the market today. The calcium content is extraordinary, between 800 and 1200 milligrams per 100 grams. For context, a full glass of milk gives you roughly 300 milligrams. Aaruul delivers 3 to 4 times that in a piece the size of your fist. It also carries vitamin C, D, E, and B vitamins, nutrients that are genuinely difficult to maintain on a meat-heavy campaign diet. The Mongols were not nutritionists. They didn't know what a vitamin was. But their food system accidentally solved the deficiency problem that would cripple other armies for centuries. And because it starts as fermented yogurt, Aaruul contains probiotics, beneficial bacteria that support digestion. An army eating Aaruul regularly was an army with functioning guts in conditions where dysentery would otherwise tear through the ranks. The Mongols built the largest land empire in history, partly because their warriors didn't get sick the way everyone else did. Chapter 4. How it was used in the field. In the field, Aaruul was used 2 ways. The first was simple: you sucked on it. The pieces were too hard to bite through directly, so warriors would work them slowly, like a hard candy, releasing protein and nutrients gradually over hours. One piece could sustain a rider through an entire morning's march without stopping. The second was as a drink. Drop a piece of Aaruul into hot water or tea, and it dissolves into a thick, calcium-rich liquid. Instant nutrition. No cooking required, no preparation required, just water and the piece in your pocket. This is critical for an army in motion. Hot tea was available at almost any camp stop. Ahruul turned that tea into a complete nutritional supplement in under a minute. And it paired directly with the other Mongol rations: borts, the dried compressed meat we covered in a previous video, and airag, that's airag, fermented mare's milk, carried in leather flasks. Together, these three foods formed a complete nutritional system. Protein from the meat, protein and calcium from the Aahruul, probiotics, hydration, and calories from the airag. Three foods, all preserved without refrigeration, all portable without weight, all edible without cooking. No civilization before or since has engineered a field ration system this compact and this complete. Chapter 5. Why this still matters. Here is what you can do with this tonight. Aahruul requires exactly one ingredient: yogurt. Full-fat, plain, unsweetened yogurt from any grocery store. Heat it in a pot on low, stirring constantly until the curds separate. Strain through a cloth, press under something heavy for several hours to drive out the liquid. Shape the curd into small pieces. Lay them in direct sun or in an oven set to the lowest possible temperature, around 150 degrees, for several hours until completely dry and hard. That is it. That is the food that sustained the army that conquered half the known world. Shelf-stable for months without refrigeration. 35 to 40 grams of protein per 100 grams, more calcium than 4 glasses of milk, made from one ingredient that costs less than $3. Modern preppers spend serious money on protein supplements that deliver less nutrition than this. Hikers carry expensive freeze-dried meals that require precise preparation. Survivalists stockpile products with ingredient lists that read like a chemistry textbook. The Mongols solved the portable nutrition problem 800 years ago, with yogurt and sunlight. The alternate past is closer than you think. If you're new here, this channel is about one thing. The people who came before us knew how to survive in ways we've completely forgotten. We are working through every major civilization and pulling out what actually worked. Not theory, not modern interpretation, but the real systems that kept real armies alive in the real world. Next, we go back to the Mongols one more time. Aarag, fermented mare's milk, the drink that hydrated the entire Mongol army across the driest terrain on Earth, delivered a mild alcohol content that killed waterborne pathogens and kept warriors going when everything else ran out. That video is coming. If you want to catch it when it drops, subscribe and hit the bell. And if you make the Aarruul, drop it in the comments. I want to see how it comes out.